Hey guys, so in the last video I said something about it being video number 4, but it's just video number 3. So last place I left off was talking about when we moved to Buffalo. So Sarah at this point was about 9 months old, and we arrived in Buffalo, and I enrolled at Sweet Home High School in Tonawanda. Well, I lived in Tonawanda, but the school was in Amherst, and there was only one other girl in the school who had a baby, so that was unusual. Plus, I was from Texas, so that was unusual. And I kind of had the benefit of being like the new girl for a little while. And plus, it was unusual because I had a kid. And I was so miserable at moving to Buffalo because I did not want to be here. I wanted to be with my friends. And so I wound up getting a boyfriend right away. And his name was Jay, and he and I were together until almost Christmas. And I was totally codependent, and he was totally overwhelmed by me and my baby and all my fucking drama. So it was doomed from the get. And right around Christmas, it all came crashing down. And there was, oh God, there was an incident where one day my friend Karen and I had decided that we were going to go over to Jay's house before school the next day and try to convince him to have a threesome with us. And we did, and we did. And then his girlfriend, he had one at the time. So like he had broken up with me, and this was my way to get him back. Like, I'll have a threesome with you. You want me to be your girlfriend? I was that girl who thought that was going to work. It doesn't work, guys. Anyway, so she caught all of us and then went back to school, and everyone in the world knew. Like I, we were, Karen and I were immediately sluts, and of course Jay was the man. So that blew, and it started me down the bad reputation path. And by my birthday, things had escalated. I had been just partying my ass off and basically just sleeping with anybody and everybody. And whatever. It's where I was at that time. Also, that started in Texas, by the way. I mentioned that Sean and I were partying all the time, but I forgot to mention that I was just a complete slut that whole summer. I slept with so many dudes. I couldn't even tell you how many. I tried to count them at one point. It was an okay number, an okay number at all. It was a lot. Um, but anyway, I was kind of spiraling at this point, and around my birthday, had been talking to Sean in Texas again, and decided that I was going to take the money that I was getting that month and move back home, and that I was going to stay with Sean and her mom, who had left her stepdad at that point and was living with her new anarchist boyfriend, and she had started her new career as a stripper. So I got on a bus and I burned all my bridges, and I took off and went back to Texas and moved in with Sean and her mom, and it was just a fucking mess. I mean, first of all, there were cockroaches everywhere. Second of all, there were, like I said, her mom was dancing. I remember one night going to refill Sarah's bottle and hearing something in the living room and seeing one of her mom's stripper friends giving some dude a blowjob in the middle of our fucking living room. I mean, just shit like that was happening, and it was really just a sketchy party house, and not clean. And I didn't really feel like it was safe. So eventually I wound up reconnecting with Bernie, who was in the hospital, and agreeing to sit for him. So, and at the same time, my mom had bought me a car, a cheap car, but a car. And so that all was amazing and great, but it didn't last long, and everything came crashing down, and I had to come back. Within a month, I came back to Texas with my tail between or to New York with my tail between my legs. And I'm forgetting the time periods. I guess that makes sense still. Because I remember coming back, I must have stayed a little longer than a month, because by the time I got back, it was final exams again, and I missed them, and I had to test out something along those lines. I don't remember. But anyway, I dropped out of school, when I went back to Texas. And so basically, when I got back, I finished out that year and made it through. So that was a nightmare and it didn't go well. And Sean and I ended on a bad note. And basically, it was the only physical altercation I ever got into with anyone besides my sister. And it wasn't even, it was one of those like hitting each other, girl style things. It was really stupid, but it was rough. We didn't end on a good note. So all that shit went down, and then summer came around, and we were all going to the Icon. I don't know if anybody from Buffalo remembers the Icon, but on Thursday nights they used to have reggae night on the third floor. So I remember doing that summer. I also remember that was the summer that my sister and her now husband James met, um, or at least that they started dating. I think something like that. Anyway, so, or they had been dating for a little while by that point, maybe a year even. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, um, so my friend Sue and Sue asked me if I wanted to go out with her. She was going to be meeting up with her new boyfriend who lived in Tonawanda and three of his friends. And I was like, are any of them cute? Fuck yeah, I'll go. So I went and miserable and long story short, we got a bottle of Southern Comfort 100 proof at some liquor store, and we were all riding around in a station wagon, and I was in the very, very back, and we were passing the bottle around. And when it was coming to me, I was taking double shots because I was nervous. I thought one of the boys was cute, and I overdid it. So that by the time we reached our destination, which was a playground and there was a slide that had one of those landings at the top that everybody could stand around. So we were all at the top of that and passing the bottle around. And then somebody was like, I dare someone to drink the last quarter of this bottle. And I was like, I'll do it. So I took it and gluck, 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 drank it down, and then slid down the slide on my back head first and landed at the bottom and passed out. Like, I don't remember anything after that except for at some point later in the evening, trying to walk back to the vehicle and losing one of my Doc Martens and having to like run back and go get it. And I don't know, just lots of. That was one memory. Another memory was something about being in the back, laying down in the back of a car. Uh, I didn't really have a lot of memories of what happened that night because I got so fucked up. I mean, crazy fucked up. And I woke up on my grandmother's front lawn with puke in my hair and on my clothes and my shoe like thrown across the yard and so hungover and feeling so sick and right next to her like mailbox, like right next to the street. So also humiliated and embarrassed that anyone had seen me that morning. I went into the house and went to the bathroom, and when I pulled down my pants, my underwear were torn, and I was like, "Fuck, what did I do now? I don't remember what happened last night. Clearly, I must have slept with somebody. I don't remember. I fucked somebody." And my sister and I had an appointment to go see a dermatologist that day because we had scabies. Isn't that great? Gross. So I remember just having to get ready and feeling really sick and hungover, and it was summertime and it was hot and we didn't have air conditioning at my grandma's house. And I basically, when I got home, I tried to call Sue and find out what had happened the night before, but she was at work and she wasn't going to be home till like 7. So all day long, I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And as I'm waiting, I'm starting to remember more and more things. Like all of a sudden, I have a flash of somebody on top of me, and not just somebody, but more than one person. And so then I'm like, oh my, what the fuck? So I'm getting more and more scared about what happened. I don't remember what happened. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm getting really upset waiting. And finally I call her and I ask her what happens after work, right? I call her and I asked her what happened and she started crying. And I was like, that's not fucking cool. Stop crying and tell me what fucking happened. And basically in the playground, in the middle of the playground with three dudes while a whole group of people stood around watching and laughing. I demanded the one guy's phone number, called him, and was like, "That's fucking rape. I'm calling the police." And he's like, "You wanted it." There's so many people that saw that would, tell them how bad that you wanted it. And I was like, I just was so humiliated and shocked and ashamed and scared and didn't remember what happened. I felt violated. I felt like a horror. I felt confused. I felt exposed. When I got back to school a month or so later, everybody knew. Everybody. So combine that with the threesome from the, semester before, and now we've got the gutter slut. Hi, I'm the gutter slut from Texas. I already have one kid. I'm all fucked up. Didn't you hear? I'm a big whore. I'll fuck you. I'll fuck you in the middle of a playground, right? Because, everybody knew what happened but me. I don't know. I still don't know to this day what the fuck happened. I don't remember, and I don't really want to remember, honestly. It's made me feel horrible for years. And so I'm not going to spend too much time here. I'm just going to say that it was super fucked up and that it was not just my school district, but like, so Sweet Home School, High School, Ken West, Ken East, Tonawanda, there were people from all over different school districts who were there, saw what happened, and spread the rumors in their school. So not only was I a big fucking whore in my school district, but in several others as well. It was too much. After everything that had already happened, it was too fucking much. And I was a mess. And I wound up meeting the only kid who didn't know what happened and didn't give a fuck was this guy that I met named Kevin, who had his own car and he had a lot of money because his dad had died. So he was getting his dad's social security money. So he could get us alcohol and he had weed and we could skip school and drive somewhere and get fucked up and fuck. And that's, what we did basically. We skipped school all the time, did drugs. One of these times, I remember getting drunk with him and having sex in his room, and he got up off me, ran to the bathroom, and threw up. And I'm sure in retrospect that it was because he was drunk, but me lying there, feeling, watching him get up off me and go run to the bathroom, I remember hearing him retch in there thinking, that's how nasty you are. That's what a fucking whore you are. You're so disgusting that this guy has to jump up off you and run into the bathroom and throw up. You're such a fucking piece of shit, Sherry. You're fucking gross. I fucking hate you. Everybody hates you. Parents don't even fucking want you. You don't have any friends. You don't even have a fucking home. You're not a good mother. Your grandmother reminds you all the fucking time that she can take care of your daughter better than you can. I just felt like a complete piece of shit. And having him vomit, while he's together with me was just all the validation I needed to really just seal the deal and believe that I was a complete piece of shit. So Law of Attraction delivered me exactly what I was looking for, which was someone to make me feel like a piece of shit. So, a little while after that, at some point, my grandmother and everybody left to go shopping at my grand's house, and it was just me and him, and we were fucking around on the couch. And he, when he was done, I was like, "What the fuck did you do? Did you just come?" And he was like, No, I didn't. And I felt it. I knew he did. So I jumped up, ran to the bathroom and, wiped and was like, oh my fucking God. Because right then a little calendar went off and I'm like, I just had my period. It was last week. It ended. So, oh my God. 14 days from first day of my last cycle. Oh my God. And I walked out there and I was like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, what? Come on. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm pregnant. I know I'm pregnant. Like, there wasn't even enough time for his sperm to get anywhere near my fucking egg. Not even close. It had literally just happened. There's no way. But I knew what had just happened. I felt it immediately. It was fucking crazy, like crazy. And of course, he didn't believe me, and he was, he blew me off. And 2 weeks later, as soon as I was waiting for my period, I wound up getting a blood test and waiting for the results. And we were like on tenterhook, just waiting to find out if I was or not. And I got a phone call, and it was the doctor saying, do you want to be pregnant? Because you are. Oh, fuck. So now I'm pregnant again. Now I'm 17, and I'm pregnant with another fucking baby, with another dude's baby. I'm a winner. I did great. Still in high school. I'm a slut. Now I'm pregnant. I like a non-existent self-esteem at that point. Like I hated myself. I hated my life. I remember very clearly getting very, very drunk, either right before we found out or right after we found out or whatever. It was around that time period. We got wasted, and I came home that night, and I had moved all of my stuff from the shared bedroom with my sister upstairs to the basement because I needed some privacy and I couldn't handle being with my sister all the time. And my grandmother's basement was damp and, concrete walls and smelled like cat litter. And the kids had my grandmother had moved the sandbox from the backyard into the basement so that my daughter and my cousin could play. Oh my God. So like I would get home and I would go to get in my bed and there'd be sand all over my bed. It was just, and it smelled gross and I fucking hated my life. Okay. So I'm really drunk one night and I'm trying to like go down the stairs without falling. And then all of a sudden I look up and I see this little plaque that was, on the way down to the basement stairs. It was a little kitty cat and it said, "You're special." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Sherry, you're a fucking dancer. You know what to do. Lose your balance, topple down these fucking stairs and miscarry. Like that's what you need to fucking do right now." And I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I was like crying my eyes out. And then I finally got downstairs and puked my guts out in the laundry tubs. And oh my God. And I just remember it smelling so strongly of gross cat piss. We had like 5 cats or something. There were 3 litter boxes down there and they did not get changed as often as they should have, which is why they were in the fucking basement, right? So, oh, it was so bad. I withdrew from school. My go-to pregnancy move, drop out. So I dropped out, and Kevin was like, "Well, we should just get married and I'll take care of you and Sarah, and we can take my dad's money and we can like go somewhere else. We can move away and let's start doing research. Let's go to the library and let's like research other places and decide where we want to live." And that was fun for a minute until my aunt started saying things like, "Well, we got to plan this wedding. And so we can use my wedding dress. I think it'll fit you. You're going to be like, how far along by then?" All that kind of stuff was happening. And I was getting really scared that was actually going to happen. By the way, I forgot to back up. A month into my pregnancy, my sister got pregnant with James's baby. And over dinner one night, my grandmother and my mom called during dinner at Graham's house, and I took the call while everybody was right in the room with me, and she basically said, "This is your fucking fault. She wouldn't have done this if you hadn't done it for twice already. She wouldn't have done it, and it's your fault. How the fuck are you going to take care of you and your baby and your babies, and now your sister and her baby? This is you. You did this. This is your fault." So that felt good. I'm sure that's not exactly what happened, but that's what my memory says happened, and so that sucked. Yeah, so now we're at Christmas. We're going into, January. There's this kid that I start fucking around with named Garrett, who introduced me to the band James. That was cool to learn of them. By the way, I never got to mention all my music and everything. Like when I hung out with Eric, he introduced me to Erasure, Depeche Mode, REM, The Smiths, The Cure, Violent Femmes. Like that was a New Order, Pet Shop Boys. All that shit was our music. And Sean and I discovered the 10,000 Maniacs, and I became a complete Natalie Merchant fan, especially because the first song I ever heard from them was while I was pregnant, and it's Eat for Two. Awesome. That's also why I started dating Jason or Jay when I got to school at Sweet Home, because he loved 10,000 Maniacs, and we went to a concert together and at the Trough. Oh my God. Anyway, all that happened, and right. So I cheated on Kevin, my go-to move, cheat on the dude to break up with him. I didn't know what I was doing back then. Anyway, so that's what I did, and um, he and I started going to church together. Yeah, I think we broke up at that point, but we started going to church together, and I had found a place going with someone like the year before. I had been going with this dude I was interested in. His mom invited me to go to church with her, so I started going because of her. And it was a place on Colvin, like, yeah, I don't remember exactly where, somewhere off of Colvin. And anyway, during the middle of one of the sermons, the pastor, whoever the fuck he was like, stopped everything and looked right at me and was like, God is sending me a message. He's sending someone to take away the pain. A person that's going to be there for you, that's really going to help you get through this hard time in your life. And I was like, wow, like that's amazing. I was so moved by that. And I took it so much to heart. Like I just got a personal fucking message from God. And he's telling me, he's giving me somebody. It's all going to be okay. So around this time, it became very clear to me that not only could I not take care of my own daughter well, I was certainly not going to be able to take care of both of them. And if I couldn't even do well by Sarah, I certainly couldn't do well by both of them, and they were both going to wind up suffering. And I decided that I needed to explore the idea of adoption. And so there was a couple at that church who had been trying to have a baby. So they kind of hooked us up, and that was a thing for a minute. But it didn't work out. And in the meantime, I had reconnected with Eric in Texas and asked him to ask his parents about what adoption agency they adopted him through. And I wanted to bail from Buffalo and go down there and see if I could stay down there and give the baby up for adoption there and then come back. So I packed up all my shit, Sarah's shit. What was I, like 5 months pregnant maybe at this point? I don't remember. I was already showing, and we packed up all of our. I packed up all of our shit, and we got on a Greyhound, and I hauled bags and diaper bags and our bags and all of our shit and her and bottles and oh, it was crazy. And then we arrived in Austin, and Eric came to pick us up, and his mom was gracious enough to let us stay there for a couple weeks until I figured everything out. So we wound up discovering that the adoption agency that they went through, that I went down there to engage with, did not have facilities to house me and Sarah. So housing was a problem. So then started the search for different agencies that I could work with that might be able to provide that. So we wound up eventually finding one in San Antonio called Adoption Services Associates. And we went down there. I had the face-to-face meeting with the adoption agent, and it was crazy. Like they had a book full of all of these, it was before the internet. So they had a book of all these pictures and all these letters, like a binder, and all these plastic covered sheet covers, right? And then all these letters that they'd written in pictures of their homes, pictures, and they had books and books and books of those. And so I sat down and went through them, like I feel like it was like the first book. I didn't find anything. By the way, Sarah and Eric's mom were there, like hanging out in a different room, like a playroom or whatever. So I finally wound up finding some parents that I really was like, oh my God, I think these are the ones. I think these are the ones. Like they have all these things that Kevin and I had talked about. And I wound up calling Kevin in Buffalo and saying, I think I found them. This, isn't that about them. Read the whole profile, described the pictures. We talked about it, and we were like, okay, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. These are the parents. Okay, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. Yes, call them. Tell them I'm interested. Um, she placed the phone call, and then we went back home because we had to drive several hours to get back to Pflugerville, where they lived. And so I wound up getting a phone call later that night. Well, first I called Kevin, and we cried about it, right, while I was at the adoption agency, and we were like, these are the people we're giving our baby to, and it was a really emotional, hard, heavy decision that we came to. And then when we got home later, I got a phone call saying that that couple had been selected by another birth mother who had just given birth recently and had decided to keep the baby, even though they had been in the delivery room with her. So they bailed. They were not ready. And so all of a sudden, the perfect parents, all the other ones, I had looked through all the books. Those were the ones. So then it was like, okay, but I already looked at these. None of these were the right one. Like, this doesn't make sense. I don't know. This is wrong. This is wrong. You know, I felt like I was shopping at that point, and it just didn't make any sense to me. And that was the first of 9. I was turned down 9 times. I forgot to mention the other video that we found out that my dad, right when Sarah was born, we found out that my dad and Christopher had both tested positive for HIV. And so it was a big fucking deal back then. If anybody remembers 1993-ish, no, 1993. It was crazy. But anyway, I got turned down because they had a very thorough health questionnaire, and one of the questions was specifically about HIV/AIDS and anyone in my family having it. And I answered it honestly. And I also answered the questions about Kevin very honestly. He was a total alcoholic, without a doubt. And so I had listed that. I mean, this is important information that he should know. And by the way, I knew it was a he from the moment I got pregnant. And after we found out that I was confirmed pregnant, we got locked in. We had stayed extra, and we had stayed too long, and everybody had cleared out after a Catholic mass one night. We were still in there. And I had been reading these books that he had turned me on to called the Joshua series about this man in modern day America who was living as Jesus did. And so I thought this Joshua character was fucking amazing and such an inspiration. And I felt so connected that I wanted to name my baby after him. And so I did. From the moment before right from the beginning, I was like, his name is Joshua. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but there's this legit crazy lady that lives downstairs that loses her mind violently. It sounds like she's throwing bodies or bowling balls around down there, and things smash and make noise, and she screams out the window. Like, it's intense. She's having a fit. She's been having fits for days. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, being turned down. Okay, so they turned me down. That was the first turn down. So then I wound up getting, they put me in an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment. I wound up going back to Round Rock where I'd grown up, and it was not too terribly far from where my mom was living with her new boyfriend, Philip. And so Sarah and I went down there, and it was just the two of us. It was the first time I had ever been on my own. And we used to take walks every day. I was listening to the Sundays, their album Blind on repeat. I was listening to the band Belly, Feed the Tree album. I was listening to Sting, The Soul Cages at night, every night, to put us to bed. I was reading The Witching Hour. I remember all of those details. Eric and I tried to make a go of it, by the way. During the time where Sarah and I stayed with him and his parents, we rekindled and tried to do it again. But like a little while into it, it was clear that it wasn't going to work. And so we stopped seeing each other. I was getting really fucking stressed out about being turned down so many times, and was not handling it well. My bulimia was out of control. I lived next door to a business park thing or whatever, like a strip mall thing that had a Mr. Gatti's Pizza. shopping center. There we go. Mr. Gatti's Pizza. Anyway, it was my favorite. It's the first place I ever worked, and I was able, I had an allowance that I could use, and I remember ordering an entire pizza as well as an entire, like, they had this apple pie thing that they used to put on top of the pizza, like just the dough of the pizza. I remember ordering both of those and eating them all and just vomiting my guts out all night, like eating and puking and eating and puking and eating and puking. I mean, I was not okay. I was not okay. I was very lonely. I was very scared. I was very overwhelmed, and all I wanted in the whole world was to keep him. Also, at this time, the whole thing with David Koresh and Waco was happening, and Waco used to be the place that was halfway between Austin and Dallas, and the Wendy's in Waco was the place where we used to do like the halfway point when we'd switch off to go do visits with my dad or vice versa for my sister. And yeah, so that was all happening at that time. And like I was glued to the television watching that and knowing that it was like so close. It was crazy. It was just a really weird time. So all that energy was swimming around at that time. I also ran into Eric Shank uh, at the HEB down the street from my house. I was grocery shopping. I ran into him and Kelly Schledeba. I forget his name. Anyway, somebody will know. Anyway, I remember running into Eric and just being so embarrassed and so humiliated. Yeah, I'm pregnant again. Doing great. Yeah, this time I'm giving it up for adoption. Yep, I'm going back to Buffalo after it's done. Amy, aren't you glad you dodged this bullet? Could have been you. I wanted it to be you. Years later, I talked to him and I told him that. He's like, that wouldn't have been so bad. And I was like, wait, what? Quantum physics says that there's another world where that was a reality. So I can find satisfaction in that. Anyway, where are we? I've been doing this for 32 minutes. Let me see if I can wrap it up. Okay. So I'm getting turned down. I'm getting FedEx packages delivered to me like on a daily basis with profiles. And now they're outsourcing to lawyers around the country. So I remember having two like interview phone calls with adopted mothers that I had scheduled for this one particular day. And the first mother that I spoke to was some executive in Manhattan, and she and her husband took their vacations abroad, and they were rich, and Kevin was all about that, and I was like, well, I mean, nobody wants them, so what? Sure, we'll try yours. Sure, we'll go for the rich ones. So the discussion that I had with her was awful. I mean, it was like being interviewed for a job and being let down because she told me straight out that she wasn't interested in my baby. And I lost my shit. Like I hung up the phone and started crying and just was just so hysterical. I wanted him more than anything in the world. I wanted to keep my baby and nobody wanted him. I just couldn't get my head wrapped around it. It was so painful. So, soon after that, I got the phone call from the next mother, and her name was Linda, and she's a kindergarten teacher, and she lived in upstate New York. In the Adirondack Mountains in a place called Glens Falls. And she's married to a man named Michael, and he is a postal carrier, and he's a fly fisherman. And, so we had this conversation, and she was telling me about them. And she's like, well, I haven't received your paperwork yet. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself and your baby. And I hear you have a daughter. Tell me about her. And I was like, oh, you haven't gotten my paperwork? Oh, well, let me tell you all the reasons why you're not going to want my baby. Number one, number two, number three, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, my nose, it says allergies, blah. And my hair gets in there too. It tickles me. Anyway, so I said all of that to her, and I was crying, and she got very quiet. There was a long pause. I remember very clearly the very long pause, and eventually she said, Sherry, I just want to love your baby. And I was like, you're the one. Oh my God, you're the one. You're his mother. Okay. And so I called, Kevin, and I told them all about them. They called him, they talked to him. Kevin and Michael totally bonded over the fly fishing and all, we all agreed. We all agreed, and we all agreed immediately. And so uh, we're leading up to due date, which was July 4th. That's sometime probably in mid-June at this point. And I had had a checkup where my blood pressure was too high for like the third consecutive visit or some shit. I don't remember. But the doctor, oh, I don't know why this is important. Because I just remember talking to the doctor. We were talking about football because we were playing it was the Buffalo Bills versus the Dallas Cowboys that year at the Super Bowl. So anyway. Anyway, I saw him and he basically said, you need to go home and be on bed rest. You have to find somebody to watch your daughter. You can't be getting up and down and taking care of a toddler right now. So I had no one to ask except for Eric. And so I called him and told him what was going on. And I'll never forget it. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and it was one of those like old fashioned phones that they used to have that were like ivory colored and gold, and it had like the big, turning thing in the front, but the thing sat on the top, and it was like all fancy looking, like an old fashioned guy. I don't know why that matters, but anyway, I had that phone, and I was talking to Eric, and I was asking him to please take care of Sarah for me, and he's like, I've got plans to go with my friends to Astroworld. We're leaving like right now. I can't watch her, and I was like, this is my baby's health. Like I need help. And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Like, you didn't give me any notice. I'm going to Astroworld. And I remember hanging up the phone, like dropping it on the receiver. And this rage of frustration and anger that just like welled up within me and just came out in this guttural scream. And I just started screaming and beating my stomach. I just couldn't take anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. I just could not fucking take anymore. I just couldn't handle not knowing when it was going to happen. I was like waiting for a bomb to drop on my head. When is it going to happen? When are my last few minutes with my baby going to, like, I don't know when they're going to happen. Am I going to be in the middle of like walking somewhere and all of a sudden I'm going to go into labor and those are the last minutes that I have with him? Or am I going to be like at the grocery store when for some reason, the uncertainty of not knowing how much time I had left with him was just unbearable. So I mentioned the freak out thing because that was the first breakdown I ever had where I just absolutely lost control of myself, of my feelings, of my everything. Sarah was crying. She was scared of me. It was bad. Like I really lost my shit. And I just wanted to hurt myself. I mean, hurt the baby, not hurt him. It wasn't his fault, but just like this pregnancy, like this is not fair. None of this is fair. That sucks. I'm so sorry for that, Brian. I really am. I'm so sorry. Like, you poor little baby. You didn't know. I'm so sorry I did that. I couldn't help it. I couldn't. I used to take baths when I couldn't sleep late at night, and I would get the water as hot as I could fucking stand it because I guess that's when this pain thing with me started, where I just needed it to hurt. Like, I needed to hurt. When I used to play the Itsy Bitsy Spider on my belly with him, sing the song and crawl up and down my belly with my fingers. Anyway, this is so hard to talk about. I hate this shit. You know what? Why don't I just leave it there? Well, there's one more thing I should share, and then we'll get into the birth, and that's just a big thing, and I need some time for that. So I'll do that in the next video. But I did want to share one last awful fucking detail because all I've got for you is honesty and compassion and empathy. Like I said before, I'm the person who got a wire hanger and tried to break my water. I tried to insert it into myself past my cervix to hook an amniotic sac. Of course, I wasn't able to do that. I just kind of poked and probed a little bit and hurt myself. but nothing, nothing damaging to him. But still, I mean, when I tell you that I was desperate, there's no other way for me to convey it. I was sticking wire objects inside of me. I was desperate. I was losing my shit. So scared, so scared. And I was alone. So, yay, this is so much fun retelling this story. But if it helps somebody, it's worth it. And I want to document all this because this was my life, and I believe in sharing it with anybody who needs it. I don't know, whatever. So we'll do the adoption next. I have journal entries from the actual time that I think I'll pull out and read about what happened. So we'll do that on the next one. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.